Namaskar, welcome. I am Dr.Anand Mohan. I am the chairman of the Shishruta IVF Center, Pattambi, Palghar district, Kerala. In the last episode, I was talking to you about infertility and how infertility is not a pathological condition in the absence of a desired condition. And childlessness causes childlessness and its perceived undesirability. It's a undesirable to the couple. It's not a real undesirability, it's a perceived undesirability. This causes a lot of psychological trauma to the couple, and it results in a lot of psychosocial issues as well. Now today we'll broadly consider the areas where the couple is affected by the problem of infertility. Infertility affects both the male and the female. Now, according to the recent statistics, 50% is female factor, 35% is due to male factor, 10% is unexplained, and 20% is combined, and 5% other causes. So it affects both the male and the female. In the olden days, infertility was totally a woman's issue. But now when science advanced, we also know that the male factor also is equally to be taken into consideration when we talk about infertility. Now historically, women have been the focus of infertility, but today the society has accepted the male factor as well in the infertility. Broadly speaking, the psychological factors concerned with childlessness, we can broadly divide into 5 areas that concerns the individual's interpersonal dynamics. A very important part is their relationship, what you call as the bond between the partners, what is called a spouse bond. Now, how does it affect? One of the main areas where infertility can affect is their relationship intellectually, emotionally, and sexually. One of the areas where the relationship tends to weaken is the sexual relationships. As their married life, as years advance, when they start going for treatment, they tend to drift apart sexually. Added on to it, the treatment makes them to have their sexual relationships in particular time of the week, particular time of the month, or what we call it as a coitus on command. So it is said that the usual routine of sex life becomes sort of a boredom. Somebody said very sarcastically said that the couple feels that their physician is perched on top of their bedroom and watching them how they perform. So the sexual relationship affects their relationship is affected, and we'll talk about it later in detail. And there also their bond, emotional bond, intellectual bond, all these things are affected. One of the main areas where the bond, what is called the spouse bond, is affected. Another area which is affected by infertility is their planning for the future. Now, when a couple gets married, they have a lot of vision, dreams about making a family. And as years pass by and they don't get a child, planning for the future becomes very, very difficult. Especially in these days when both the husband and wife work, both of them earn, and both of them have equal rights in the household, a lot of conflict happens within the interpersonal relationship, that because both of them are earning, and who has to hold the power in the family? Because of their physical relationship, because the spouse bond is disturbed. And another area is planning for the future, taking decisions for the future. their dreams of building up a family is shattered, and therefore this particular aspect of planning for the future and sharing of the income and whatever they earn and how to spend it, all these things are affected. All these points we'll discuss in detail later. A third area which is affected by infertility is the quality time. Now, quality time can be affected in many ways in infertility. There are people whose quality time means the time they spend together, even if both of them are working. We know that when they come back home, they sit together and have a chat and speak to each other. But one area that is very much affected by infertility is the time that they spend together. This is affected in many ways. One area is that whenever they meet each other in the evenings or any time when they are together, the main topic for discussion, the main topic about which they speak becomes infertility and their problem. They will start speaking only about their problems, either blaming themselves or blaming each other, and all these things start. Another difficulty in quality time is that the husband tries to come back late to the home, because when he comes home, what he sees is a tearful wife. In order to avoid that, he tries to come back late, have food, then watch TV, and then go to sleep. And because their sexual relations are also disturbed, that part of time that they spend together is also reduced. So the quality time, many a time, another side is that some of them, a very small percentage of the couple, some of these people find that it is better to spend time together and try to divert their attention by being together. It's a very small percentage of people. Most of the others, they say that what is there to talk? What is there to do together? We are suffering. We have this problem. So, in order not to disturb the wife, the husband will try to be away, or not to disturb the husband, the wife will also tend to be away. So the quality time, the time spent together, gets affected as years pass by and they don't get a child. Another aspect is the communication. As the quality time, at the time they spend together, gets reduced, the communication style also gets disturbed. The communication gets is affected in a negative way, that when they try to talk to each other, the main subject is infertility. And when they start talking about infertility, the question comes, whose fault is this? Is it because you got something wrong? Is it my fault? Is it your fault? All these things, the communication style changes, and the entire the communication revolves around the problem of infertility. Second is the blaming game. They try to blame each other. And third thing is that the communication time also gets reduced. And very few people, the communication becomes better in order to support each other. This is so there are different ways in which infertility affects the couple, even different ways in which their communication is affected. And this problem is more aggravated when both the husband and wife are working. What happens is that they go for their work, come back late at home, and when they can get some time to communicate, they try to avoid speaking to each other because this particular problem of infertility may come in. Now, one particular time when the entire communication gets disturbed, the time when the wife gets her periods. That's the time when every month when all the hopes get shattered. That's the time when a lot of emotional disturbance occurs, and then it affects the communication style also. Our next area, a very important area in our society, is the social connectivity. As years pass by, as we all know that infertile couple is subjected to a lot of societal pressure, unlike the Western countries, a lot of societal pressure. Everybody starts asking, you don't have a child? So what happens? Why? Did you do that? Did you do this? Did you go to the temple? All these things. Every time they see this question comes, and especially the wife breaks down, starts crying, and so they avoid social functions. They start avoiding social functions, and there is always a withdrawal from social functions. Many a time the husband, it's the other way around, husband comes back late home, so he starts spending more time with his friends, and perhaps he may start drinking also. That's another aspect of this. And both of them going together for functions in society become less and less. So the wife says she's afraid to go for any function alone, and she's afraid to face other people, the friends, relatives, everybody starting asking her about the child. And everyone has some suggestion or the other to give to infertile couples. Suggestions about that treatment, this treatment, that mosque, this church, that temple, that offering, all these problems. And each time this particular subject of the word child comes into the picture, it emotionally disturbs the woman so much that she breaks down and tries to avoid social functions. The same thing happens with the relationship with the parents also, parents and in-laws for both. Now they start blaming, the wife's people will start suspecting whether the husband is at fault, and especially the husband's people will say, because it's mainly considered a woman's issue, the husband people will start blaming the wife, and then there inside that circle in the society also there are a lot of disturbances. Now these are the 5 broad areas where infertility creeps into the life of this couple, and we'll try to see each aspect in detail in the next coming episodes. Thank you.